Unit 3, Lesson 5, a sample problem for problem-based learning, an assignment. Note there are text and slides to support this presentation available at www.archimedes2014.eu. In this lesson, we will look at an example of a PBL problem in the workplace. We will state the learner profile, which was covered in Lesson 1, the problem characteristics, which were covered in Lesson 2, a description of the problem, which was covered in Lesson 3. In this, we will explain the content of the problem, the context in which it needs to be solved, how it relates to other elements, the research the learner is required to complete, the reasoning techniques they are required to use, and how the learner needs to reflect. We will look at categorizing the problem, which was covered in Lesson 4, and then we will present an assignment to enable you to apply what you've learnt. The learner profile. The problem we are examining is increasing revenue for ABC Limited. The levels of self-directedness. The PBL group consists of 3 employees from finance, marketing and sales. 2 of the learners are at the early stages of self-directed learning, levels 1 to 2. Therefore, the problem must have a low, medium level of difficulty or ambiguity. All of the employees are familiar with the problem as they are aware of a reduction in sales and increased competition, and that the company is exposed to the market. The motivation for solving the problem. The sales and marketing personnel spend a lot of time chasing leads and sales, and only 20% of these are fruitful, due to a large amount of competition. These staff are working hard and despite this are finding it difficult to reach their sales targets. The finance personnel are aware of the difficulties the business is in and the impact to the organisation if sales do not increase. Therefore, all parties have a high interest and motivation for solving the problem. Problem characteristics. The difficulty. Due to the level of self-directedness of the learners, there must be some structure and scope on the problem. It will be narrowed to focus on the expertise relevant to the PBL group and will contain some structure to guide the learners. The context. The problem will be tailored to examine solutions in the context in which the proposed PBL group will operate. This is sales, marketing and finance. Collaboration. The problem is a large problem which has a number of different elements and perspectives to solve. It is therefore favourable to problem-based learning. Problem presentation. The content. An overview of the problem. Over the past 5 years, ABC Limited, their market share in Europe has decreased by an average of 3% each year. This is having a huge impact on the company's revenue and its ability to operate at a profitable margin which satisfies the shareholders' requirements. Their current net profit percentage is 5% compared to 10% 5 years ago. This has been due to an increase in expenses and price increase. Connectedness. ABC Limited would like to look at how the company could operate in the Asia market and start exporting products to this market in the next 6 months. The company does not want to set up a physical presence in this market due to the costs associated with it. The company would like to offer their existing products in this market with minimum production changes. Past attempts at increasing revenue have included recruiting an extra salesperson, development of 2 new products to address emerging needs of customers, and improvement of credit terms offered to customers. Research and reasoning techniques. Research required. The learner is required to examine the customer behaviour in Asia and how it might impact on how the company will sell the product in those countries. They are required to research the excise and customs laws of the receiving countries and identify what measures the companies need to adapt these. They need to examine the export and trading laws in the European Union concerning exporting to Asian countries and identify if the company satisfies these laws and if any amendments need to be made to the company practices. The learner needs to research the various transportation mediums and identify the most appropriate medium. They need to look at different distribution partners that will sell the product in the Asian market and select the most appropriate partner for the organisation and the company's products. The organisational objectives are to increase sales to Asian countries by 10% within the next year, attract 20 new Asian customers, and set up 2 distribution channels to these customers. Reflection. Throughout the process, the learner is required to record if they have acquired enough information to allow them to understand the problem and understand potential solutions. Have they analysed sufficient data to allow them to develop and implement a feasible solution that meets all the requirements? Identify what research methods they used and if they were effective. The reasoning processes they have used and if they are logical and effective. And if they integrated their knowledge conceptually. They also need to examine if their problem-solving strategies are effective. At the end of the process, they must look at how do they connect data to develop a solution. What was the reason they selected the solution? If they were to solve this problem again, how would they start over? Do they have any questions, and what other problems they would apply the PBL process to? The assignment requires you to formulate a problem for problem-based learning for business professionals. Identify a problem for a particular learner profile for problem-based learning, the characteristics that problem should have, and present the problem in a manner compliant with a 3CR3 model. In the next unit, we will look at the different roles in problem-based learning and supporting these roles.